Welcome to Seat Time, everybody, the off-road show that brings you all the results, news, and online shenanigans that make being online a good time. We'd like to say thank you to Fly Racing for their support of Seat Time. Please go check them out at flyracing.com.
Welcome to Seat Time, everybody. Brian Pierce here, your host for this fine Tuesday evening. It's episode 198. A lot of numbers.
Yeah, I remember being on number 11.
Is that when it was, your first one?
The first one I was on was number 11.
I'm glad that you remember that. Luckily enough, the math works out that I was on the first one, so I can remember that my first episode was the first one.
I can imagine that.
So, look, it's easy for me, though, because don't want to have to screw that up too much. So welcome, everybody, to Seat Time. This is the online show for the off-road enthusiasts. Hopefully, you guys are ready to talk a little bit about some dirt bikes. We've got a couple beers. We're going to drink a few of those. But then, of course, we went to Dallas Supercross. We've got GasGas news coming up with Johnny Barber. Got a couple updates from Cody Webb down in Argentina. Well, we know he's south of the border anyway in the area because they raced Argentina. They're going to be racing Brazil coming up pretty soon. So, of course, Seat Time is brought to you by the fine folks at Fly Racing, which you can learn more about at flyracing.com. That is where it's a good place to go do all your research. You could possibly purchase there if you would like to, but we do recommend going to your local dealer and supporting your local dealer because that's the best way to make sure that they get what they need. And I just realized that the dog is in here, so anybody who smells and or feels something weird, it's okay. It's just Izzy. I feel like we're officially Pulp MX now because we've got the dogs in the studio and they just smell bad and piss everybody off. Let's just tell Tam.
Don't bark at our bad jokes.
Is in studio. Help. Hey, see how weird it gets. And of course, Kinda Tire USA, so kindatire.com to go learn more about all the wares that Kinda has for you. If you haven't noticed, they definitely are pushing a big market, big push to the off-road market. That's definitely going to help out guys like us who really enjoy being off-road and need more tires specifically made for the type of riding that we do.
And I have a brand new set of big blocks on my 990.
Ooh. And you're ready to go pick it up at some point.
We'll see how that works.
To sell it with?
We'll see.
We'll see. And then SRT Off-Road. So srtoffroad.com is where you can go check out those guys. And what's great is, so say I were to go to Adventure Moto here in McKinney, Texas, I can get all of this stuff there. They carry everything that Fly Racing has. They carry stuff, everything that Kinda has, and they carry products by SRT Off-Road. So if you're looking for a way to protect your bike, all the fun plastics, if you need to replace plastics, if you need to get a bash guard, if you need to get other things, maybe like a chain guide, a stiffer and or stronger chain guide, shark fins, bits for your front rotor, all that kinds of stuff, all the billet aluminum, radiator guards, that's the best way to go do it is srtoffroad.com. You can purchase there, but again, we would say if you do have a local dealer, that's definitely the best way to support the sport is to make sure that your local dealer gets a little bit of the funding that you're going to say, give to them. Seat Time is archived on the site, seattime.co. You can as well get us on Stitcher and iTunes if you wanted to subscribe to us there, if audio only is the way you'd rather go, and have us as a podcast. That's fine as well. We do have a chat room, tlk.io/seattime, where you can go in there and ask questions. What's going to be fun, we will have Johnny Barber on a little bit later, and he's going to be helping us kind of disseminate what has been going on with GasGas, where GasGas is going to be headed in the near future, and they want to be back racing by 2018 at the GNCCs and the Full Gas.
That's exciting.
That's awesome. And if they can get there, they need to get there quick because beta is starting to definitely take a lot of that much more niche European, sexier, fancier kind of market. So GasGas has got to make sure they get on the gas and continue that forward momentum as they rebuild their brand a little bit here in North America.
And Yamaha's still making inroads and Honda's making noise, so
yeah, I mean, Honda's got a full team this year, so it'll be fun to talk about and see kind of where all this goes. So one thing that I wanted to mention before we get into some of the news is that in 3 weeks, this is episode 198, but in 3 weeks, we'll have our 200th episode. We want to give things away. We want to make sure that you guys have a chance to win some Fly Racing swag, maybe some tires from Kinda Tire, maybe some bits for your bike from SRT Off-Road. And the way that we would like is two different ways. So one, what do you want to see in the 200th episode? What should we do? Are there specific riders that you've heard us talk about before that you want us to have come back on and talk about maybe all the fun times they've had on Seat Time? Whatever that would look like to you. So definitely in either the comments on the website, the comments on YouTube, maybe you want to just tweet us, whatever it is, Facebook, find a way to reach out. And every single comment will get put into a fun little tub, and we will pull names from that, and those people will be put into a drawing to be able to win one of something from each of our sponsors. And then as well, what we want to do is be able to give more away on the 200th episode. That will be in 3 weeks. So in 2 weeks, we will be at family stuff. Everybody's got spring breaks, all that kind of stuff. Somebody's got family trips. So we're going to take that week off. I believe that's March 8th is when it would have been the 200th episode. So now March 15th will be our 200th episode. We like doing live episodes at places. If people want to drink a couple beers and get a little goofy, offer up your space or just offer up your ideas. So do that. Make sure you hit all the comments there. So some of the recent Dirt Buzz, Dad. The Dirt Buzz from dirtbuzz.com, our good friend Dale Spangler. If you want to check that out, he definitely has a lot of fun content that he's got going on there. Definitely different from a lot of the other sites that you're going to find. Much more lifestyle-centric. And so biggest news this weekend, SuperEnduro. Round 3, win on in Argentina. We saw Johnny Walker get on the top step of the podium, coming away with 2 wins in 3 of the prologues, and then Cody Webb getting a win in the 3rd prologue. Colton Haker did a fantastic job trying to get to that top step in some of the prologues, but of course coming in 2nd, and then Cody Webb in 3rd. These are the guys that we've seen in and out on these 3 rounds at the top. Now, granted, we have seen Cody Webb at the top a lot more, but Cody Webb made a lot of mistakes. Colton Haker even made some mistakes. Johnny Walker made the least amount of mistakes, and he was the guy that wound up on top step. And now he's the guy that has the point lead, 11 points ahead of Webb, where Webb was dominating.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting.
And that's another new series to follow. I mean, in the past, we really didn't follow that much here in this country.
It's been a lot harder in the past. And
it's
now
like it's just getting more popular.
And it's getting a little bit easier to follow. I feel like they're doing a good job with their media presence, trying to bring people like us who are in a completely different continent, and sometimes different time zones, all that kinds of stuff. They're trying to bring us very relevant information, which is fantastic. But I still think that in some of these situations, live feeds on YouTube. I mean, look what we're doing right now. We do this on, believe me, a dime, sometimes a nickel budget. There's ways to do it. I mean, we did the Endurocross for, I'm not going to tell you the number, but it was not very much money. We had 2 cameras, we had 2 hosts, all that kinds of stuff. So live feeds are definitely doable. I think that's a good way to go. People are going to tune in, and even if not, then it's archived on YouTube. Bam! Content for the internet. So with Walker 159 points, Webb 148, and Haker 138, they're now going to be racing in Brazil this weekend. So we're going to see.
Their deet.
Yeah, see if Webb can kind of get his feet unwet, because he got wet and slipped on lots of logs.
Yeah, but they need to put on their deet for the mosquitoes.
Oh, down in Brzil?
We don't need them bringing home any Zika.
Right? We'll see. Also this weekend, I said AMRA, Hair Scramble. It's the Arizona Motorcycle Riders Association. There it is. So Max Gersten with 1st place, Destry Abbott in 2nd, and Ryan Kudla in 3rd. What I love about this is that Destry Abbott is probably twice the age of Max Gersten. 2nd place.
It sounds like an Endurocross lineup these last 2 events.
Yeah, I know. It's pretty intense. And then, of course, we've got Ryan Kudla in 3rd. Props to Ryan Kudla. Ryan Kudla, he's been on the show quite a few times. His brother is Eric Kudla. Eric Kudla helps promote a lot of the events on the West Coast with the National Hare and Hounds. We've met Eric Kudla. You met him at the Baja Rally. Right. He's got he's the ginger with the red hair, kind of goofy looking. Like me. Just a different type of goofy looking.
Right.
Pretty
you look
perfect.
Like your mother.
Pretty perfect. So congrats to Max Gertens getting the win over Destry Abbott. It looked like Destry Abbott was working on his KX500, though, on Instagram. So if that were to happen sometime soon, that would be amazing.
That's a widowmaker.
I would love to see that. So Southeast Cross Country Association, so SECA. We had Tanner McCoy, Cliff Owsley, and Hunter Williams. This is one of those series that, honestly, we don't get to learn too much about, but it's great that Dirt Buzz is digging in and doing this kind of research for everybody, not just for us. It's for everybody. It's out there at dirtbuzz.com. This is actually in Alabama.
Yeah, well, they cross over with Sarah. A lot of their events cross
SECA
over
stuff?
with SERA, yeah. Some of the same states, but they're more Georgia and the Carolinas. They come into Alabama, but they're pretty much east of Sarah.
Okay.
They touch, like Blackjack and Sarah at the other end, and Texas and Sarah.
I like it. I like it. So, fly racing wise, this past week, what we saw, Jason Anderson getting third at Dallas Supercross. Thumbs up to that guy for sure. That was still so much fun to watch that guy ride.
He is. He's just all over that motorcycle. I love to watch him ride.
Yeah. Kinda Tire, we saw Max Gersten get on the podium at AMRA, and he is a Kinda sponsored tire. And then we saw SRT Off-Road out in the desert of Baja getting ready for the San Felipe 250. So lots of fun there, and we know we want to be back there. Hopefully that works out for us later this year. We would be back in the sands of Baja. It'd be fun if we could bring one or two people to film, wouldn't it?
I'll be there.
Be one or two other people. You're Papa Pierce. You're the guy that's got to like bring this like down a level when I'm freaking out. That's your job. I can't have you videoing and taking care of me.
That's true. He's
I'm
a handful.
I'm a big baby.
He's a handful.
You know this. You know how this works.
Always has been.
Yeah. Well, cool. Well,
When are you
before we
gonna-
totally dive into all of our Supercross chatter and all the fun that we had this past weekend, we wanted to get a chance to talk to Johnny Barber a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and let him know that it's going to be coming in hot. But what's going to happen?
Can you still come in hot? You have to have a timed enduro to come in hot.
Yeah?
And there aren't very many timed enduros left. So can you come in hot?
We're coming in hot. Yeah, it's like because you're coming in hot. You're like, "Rah!" Full throttle. Yeah, you can come in hot.
Okay.
You can come in hot. Actually, coming in hot's a positive. Only in an enduro would be coming in hot would be a negative.
Yeah.
Because you're like,
You have
being
to
awesome.
be just right.
Just right. I like
Not
it.
too hot, not too cold.
Right?
Just right.
Yeah, just right. Well, cool. Well, Mr. Johnny Barber, welcome to Seat Time, my friend. How's your evening going?
It's going great, man. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. So this is some fun, interesting news we saw late last year. GasGas, and obviously you're going to correct me when I'm wrong, and you're going from what you do know, from what you've been involved with, or what has trickled down, if you will. But GasGas was bankrupt. They were in the courts. Somebody bought them out. A Taro group who has ties actually even further back to bicycles and motorcycles, more mopeds, but still. They changed their name. They sold off some of that stuff. And then as it kind of went on throughout time, they're much more involved now in electric bicycles. And it seems like some electric motorcycles, probably more like scooters, and then some kid motorcycles. So that's interesting that a group like that would buy GasGas, but maybe they're buying GasGas to get more involved again in the... in the expulsion? No, in the combustion engine department, opposed to just the battery engine.
Plus suspension components, frame geometry, manufacturing capability. GasGas had some cool stuff.
They did have some good European design, that is for sure. So, the initial question is where did this kind of start? Like, do you know kind of any of the ins and outs of what it would have looked like for Taro coming in and purchasing GasGas? And then, of course, what those plans look like. In initial plans, obviously, we don't need to get nitty-gritty right now. We've got lots of little questions. But in the sense of like what they kind of, an overarching idea of where they plan to kind of rebrand within America and in the world at that point.
Well, absolutely. It seems like they came in and they bought up the company and nobody really knew who they were or whatever. But just from talking to my boss, and he was just over in Spain, I think it was last weekend, and met with the CEO and all that. And GasGas wants, a piece of the American market, and they never really have seen that way before in the past. It doesn't seem like,
Right.
I've ridden for them off and on since 2003, and they've always done a little bit of support here in the States, but it's never been like a main priority. And it seems like that this new CEO definitely wants to be involved here. So it's good news as far as I can see.
Yeah. And definitely from the press release that came out when you were announced as kind of, and your title still kind of baffles me because I won't lie. They didn't really have a title for you. So I was kind of like support rider guy for the Northeast. I was like, well, that is very vague. I was like, they wanted your assets and they just wanted you in there and a title would come later. But being the fact that they mentioned in that press release that they want to be back racing by 2018, that's awesome. That's going to take a lot of finagling this year to bring a lot of consistency to the name GasGas, so that riders for that year in the 2018 that you'll be signing in 6 to 7 months, will feel confident in the fact that they're going to be getting on a bike and a team, that is going to be worth their merit and effort, at the level that they're going to be racing at.
Absolutely. To backtrack a little bit, it's two different lines. It's, the electric bikes is one line, separate company, GasGas, another, and they want to continue to evolve GasGas in every way. And, I think they're going to assume production of the trials bikes here in March, and the enduro bikes are going to follow that. So we should see bikes like midsummer, maybe, the 17s. And I'm super excited about that because, they're going to be, ground up, hopefully a great package. And they already had a really good platform, don't get me wrong. But, there was some quality control issues, I'm sure, that this new CEO isn't going to put up with. So I'm excited to see what the future holds.
Very interesting.
But as far as, my title is concerned, this has been in the works for well over a year.
Right.
I've been trying to become involved, and it's finally panning out. And I couldn't be more excited to be involved, at the ground floor, building this team from the bottom up,
Yeah, and being in the Northeast, I was just thinking of this. How much, one, interaction have you had with J-Day, and two, would that be a series to tap into, since that series has such a great mass media following?
It really does, and I've never been to a J-Day event, and I would love to go because I feel like the events are awesome. I mean, you watch the videos from the events, those guys are just flying around, I like the idea of the 30-minute motos and the smaller tracks and the, people being able to see more of the race. And I think Johnny Day has a lot of good ideas out there, but unfortunately, most of his races are 8 hours away from me.
Okay.
I'm in Western PA, Pittsburgh area, and most of his stuff is Massachusetts, that area, so it's a hike for sure.
Right. Well, before we totally get, I guess, into some of the all the questions and that kind of stuff, Dad, tell us a little bit about your history. And I don't think you ever rode GasGas or anything like that, but a little bit of the history of you did. Okay, so tell us a little bit about what you kind of remember from GasGas back in the day.
When the Knights were bringing them in, now we don't need to go into why they don't.
Dawn Knight,
yeah. They basically were 30% of Sarah, and especially for the shorter riders, and the two strokes were just incredible. I would still say that the best two-stroke engine I ever rode was the 300 GasGas. Now, I didn't fit on the bike, okay, so I didn't get a chance to really do much with it because I believe they used to be a 7/8 size or something, but their two-stroke technology was tremendous, and they were starting to get four strokes, and then things just sort of disappeared. The 400, I think, came out, wasn't quite with the program of some of the others, but it was a lot better than a lot of startups would think it to be. But their suspension was great, and the 250 and 350 engines were just electric. I mean, they just had torque and everywhere and over rev. They were great motors.
Absolutely. I can't speak for the Knight era. That was before my time a bit, but from 2003 on, I'm familiar with the bike, and I agree with you. The motors are amazing. And no matter, even if you like to ride moto style in the high RPMs, the bikes are still compliant for that too, I really dig the bikes. I always have. So I can't wait to see what they're going to do in the future.
Yeah.
Stephen Reed won Sarah a couple of times on his GasGas.
Yeah.
Overall Sarah.
Stephen Reed?
Yeah.
Stephen Reed. Down in SERA.
He was actually my teammate in 2005 and 2006 maybe. We rode for GasGas.
Oh, teammates with GasGas. Okay.
We rode for GasGas. Yeah, GasGas actually did their own importership in Tampa, Florida, those couple of years with a fellow named Juan Ramiro, and he hired myself, Stephen Reed, and possibly another rider that it's slipping my memory at this point, but yeah, I mean, to do the national enduros, and that's what we did. Stephen actually, I believe he won one of the national enduros down south on a Suzuki, and then GasGas had picked him up the following year. But yeah, I mean, they were definitely gun ho back then, and I hope that it goes that way now.
Too bad he didn't rub off on Brian. When Brian was at LSU and he had his Husky 250, the Reeds used to drag him to the Enduros.
Yeah, but that was one of those situations where they were doing that because John Reed was your friend, not Stephen Reed was my friend. Like, Stephen and I got along, don't get me wrong, but, like, you know, it still was like...
rub off on you.
They never drove... Like, this is what it looked like. I had to get a ride to their house, right? Even though I was 20 minutes away, I had to get a ride to their house. They would drive me to the race. I'd bring it back, and granted, I did all the bike work as much as I did until the damn thing broke. And then I'd still have to sit out in front of their house and wait for a ride home. Again, even though they were 20 minutes away. So you say that there's this great opportunity that I had, but you could tell that there was very little effort into giving a shit about what happened to Brian Pierce before and after a race weekend. And that's okay. That's not a complaint. That's just a fact. That's just what it was.
We were in Arkansas. You were in Baton Rouge.
I know. I'm just saying. Like, so this is what it is. You mentioned the quality control, and I think it's interesting that you bring that up because I would say that that's probably one of... Now, granted, I've never raced a GasGas, never owned a GasGas. I've probably ridden one a handful of times, and that is literally a handful. It would be under 5 for sure. So I've never had a chance to put one through the paces. So this is definitely kind of just all hearsay and what I've kind of been around. But I think that the biggest thing is either A, parts not holding up, or B, the ability to then get replacement parts for that. And that was one of the things that we've talked a lot about that KTM did so well 20 years ago when they started to really rebrand and come back when they went bankrupt and got bought out by the sports group that now owns them and Husky. And then we've seen a lot of that with Beta too, and that's a big thing that Beta is trying to make a big push is to make sure that people now realize is that they have that distributorship and the support system. So obviously that's going to be something that, as you mentioned, that the CEO of Turo is going to try to be very prominent on. Do you have any insight on kind of what that looks like on how they plan to make sure that that support system is there in the United States, and I would imagine even on the world, but obviously we're here, so we really care about us right now.
Well, I don't have a ton of insight as far as the CEO is concerned. You know, I'm focused on making, you know, a race effort for the East Coast this year, and I know what everybody else knows from the press releases and from the statements that the new CEO makes, but it sounds to me like spare parts is going to be up and running or is up and running, and it's not going to be a big issue. And I know in the past, like, it really hasn't been a huge issue as far as I know. Like, every time I ever rode for him, I never had any problem with getting parts. You know, the quality control, you know, as far as the parts not holding up, you know, you're hit or miss, it seemed like, in a few past years. Like my current bike now, I've had for over a year now, and I'm on the stock clutch, you know? I mean,
right.
Like, I've had really good luck with my bike, and I'm fortunate, you know? That I'm sure that there's plenty of guys out there that haven't had good luck, but that's with any brand, you know? Every bike has its quirks, but it seems to me that this new company wants to iron out any kind of defects, which is good as far as I'm concerned.
I would agree. Yeah, and hopefully, you know, this is one of those situations where I would assume, and hopefully that they do this right, because, you know, having a lot of money is one thing, but putting it in all the wrong places would be obviously detrimental. So it's like, it's not just saying, hey, we have $14 million to put into GasGas, you know, beyond buying it and then paying the back payments that were due, back debts. But being able to take that $14 million that they're putting into GasGas and make sure that it goes into the right places. Now, granted, I don't have a clue what those are.
You have to have the infrastructure,
but
the
it's
dealer network that are willing to stock parts, willing to, do what it takes to be successful with the brand.
Yeah, it's interesting that Sherco was actually kind of going through a little bit of the history on the bankruptcy, everything that went on. Is that Sherco was actually one of the ones that was kind of finagling it a little bit. So, there's a good one. In the chat room, roll out a direct injected two-stroke before anyone else, and you'll make a huge splash in the off-road market. I think you'd make a huge splash in the whole entire dirt bike market. Direct injected two-stroke.
Yeah, that would definitely complicate things. That's for sure.
Yeah, we would be worrying about a whole other ball game of problems if that was an issue that kind of came up. And I would imagine that's why it's actually been a recurring theme we've talked about a couple of times the past couple of weeks. Is it direct injected two-stroke? It seems like from what we hear, the rare rumors that we do get here in the middle of Texas is that everybody has one. It's just that nobody's releasing it because they literally don't want to be the first person. Yeah. So maybe it'll be GasGas. They'll just say, F it, we're here. Let's play ball.
The return of the oil injector then.
Yeah. Well, that's what Beta's rocking with right now. So in their X-Trainer. But, so a couple things going on is Lenovo Group. And now tell us a little bit about Lenovo Group, because in the press release we saw a little bit about Lenovo Group. We're seeing that on the bikes that I've seen pictures of you looking very suave, by the way, on hanging over the motorcycle. So talk us a little bit about who that group is and how they're involved with what's going on there.
Lenovo Group is a recruiting firm for like mid to executive level recruiting it's in the Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania area. It's
so after this, they're going to be calling me for a lot of personal information. Yeah. I figured as much.
High profile gig, I'm sure. No, it's actually my wife and her brother started the company from scratch like 5 or 6 years ago.
Awesome.
And they built it into a very successful company, and they're willing to help me out with my racing endeavors and get a little advertising in the meantime.
That's great.
I like that. Yeah, and is that specifically towards the race program? You said that you're going to be trying to grow there, kind of in the Northeast, or is that something that's going to be even more specific towards a larger GasGas kind of corporate thing?
Like right now, it's basically focused on my racing efforts.
Okay.
And this team, but I wouldn't put it past anybody to maybe look at this as an angle into the motorcycle industry as far as recruiting goes, and with GasGas wanting to have a big presence here in the United States, and they're looking at Southern California. To get in there and to get some people over here and maybe some R&D and stuff like that. So, it might be an in for us to get involved in the motorcycle industry for sure. We're involved with a lot of other industries, but not so much the motorcycle industry. So we're trying to maybe kick that door in a little.
That kind of was my next question is, you're in the Northeast. Will the rollout be like region by region, or will GasGas dealerships be countrywide to start?
The dealers are countrywide already.
Okay.
I mean, there's plenty of dealers out there, and there's more, that want to be involved. I mean, my boss gets questions about it all the time, how to become a dealer and when are we going to have bikes, So these are good things, that's for sure, Obviously, we need product.
Yeah.
So, and I don't want to confuse people like we're putting the cart before the horse with this race team.
Right.
But, we got to start somewhere. And right now we're on, 2015 equipment. And there's nothing wrong with it. It's a great platform. I've been riding it for a year now, and I love it. And we actually I actually used one of your sponsors last year, Stillwell Performance, for
nice.
The suspension. And, they have the Mozarki 48 millimeter dialed. So, I called Alan up and he helped me out. But unfortunately, this year we're going a little bit of a different direction. Mainly because Hepler has a long-lasting relationship with PR2, which is very local for us.
Okay.
And, you got to support the local companies. That's for sure.
That's what we say every time. All of our sponsors do have their web presence and everything is purchasable online. But being that in reality, most of us, support a very small network locally, and that's the best way to do it. There's sometimes, there's going to be great sales online and everything, but at least walk into your shop once a month, purchase some stuff, and make sure they're getting your business. You mentioned Brock Hepler. That is a great point for us to just start talking about that. So you're putting together this race team. He's kind of a support guy in the sense of helping grow the trials and enduro market more than it already is. But so talk us through a little bit about his hiring and kind of like where you all see him being involved with GasGas and how he's going to help kind of, help the brand and support and awareness as you guys continue to grow.
Well, absolutely. I started talking to Brock maybe a year ago, maybe 14 months ago, something like that. And he had already had something kind of ironed out, with a little bit of KTM support through a shop. And that was all good, but I kept in contact with him over the course of the year, and I saw him at some local races and stuff, and battled with him. And he's a great rider. He's still blazing.
Yeah, he's been at a couple enduros and like really done well in the A classes, right? I mean, like if not one or two of them, right?
He rode a couple national enduros this year. And I think he was in the top 10 in both, And I mean, this is a guy that's not. He wasn't training. He wasn't riding often. He's just like showing up, throwing a leg over his bike, and doing work, I guess.
Right. doing what a Brock Hepler does.
Doing what a superstar does. So I mean, the guy, you wouldn't know that he was like one of the baddest dudes on a motorcycle in the world. To talk to him, he's just down to earth, cool, chill dude, and I thought he would be a great fit with GasGas, and I've been talking to him and talking to GasGas and trying to align the stars, so to speak, and we finally got it done this just here lately, and I couldn't be happier. I really couldn't.
That's that Lenovo Group recruiting coming in on handy, isn't it? You got that. Your wife is just getting in there with that recruiting magic.
Yeah.
That's a tough job. I was a recruiter for a while. That's not an easy job.
No, I know. But it's funny though, Dad. You're retired now, but you don't have to be.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Hey, man, send me a resume. I'll forward it to my wife.
I can't move to Pittsburgh.
Yeah, we'll get you in on the. You can go to Southern California.
Take care of the grandkids.
Yeah, that's true. We're very, very thankful for the fact that we have so many family members that are this close, because now that the youngest is almost 2, they're getting to that point where we can kind of, leave them and not feel like they're going to turn into complete shitbags. Liam, on the other hand, he's 3.5, so he's a 3.5-year-old shitbag. There's nothing we could do about that, whether he's with them, with us, or with anybody.
Texas tornado.
But yeah, he is just a handful. So, but yeah, you can't go to California.
Dude, I can totally relate. I have an 11-month shitball, and a 5-year-old who's probably the best well-behaved 5-year-old on the planet somehow. I don't know how that happened, but I'm paying the price for the new baby.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
He's a wild man.
What's crazy though is it's like for me anyway, it was like under 2, under 18 months. Batshit crazy is they're an infant, or they're working their way toward toddler. They can't express themselves. Blah 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 blah. All these excuses, for why they're batshit crazy. And then they turn into this kind of like sweet little thing for a little bit, right? They're like, oh, it's so awesome. Yay. And it might last 6 to 8 months. And then all of a sudden,
Days.
and if you're lucky, a year, but then all of a sudden it's just a like Liam right now. I mean, it is
He's
just,
testing boundaries.
oh, buddy, it is.
He's
the
seeing how fast he can go before he
day to
crash and
day.
burn.
You just want to like wring his little
How
cute
hard
ass
can you
neck.
get that burn before-
It is
Oh
ridiculous.
man, I know.
So I can't wait to get him on a motorcycle so that way he can go hurt the trees and I don't hurt him.
How old is he?
3.5 right now. So
3.5?
I'm trying to get him on a pedal bike. Like he's on a kick bike, a 12-inch kick bike right now.
Oh yeah, Strider.
Balances, is all over the place, does fantastic. But he doesn't want to move up to the pedal bike. But I'm not putting him on training wheels because training wheels, to me,
Training wheels are bad news, man.
yeah. So they just it's a false hope. So
It
I'm
is.
hoping he gets to pedaling by 4, and if he can get to
Right.
pedaling by 4, then we'll find a nice little used bike. In the
No, we have the electric bike.
yeah, so we've actually have one of the little OSOT 12-inch bikes that we're hoping to kind of get him to figure out.
Hoping to
but
trade in and get a Tarot.
that would be fantastic. I'm okay with
They'll
that.
be here in April.
There it is. Yeah, so let's talk about that lineup a little bit. So we know Brock Hepler's coming in. He's going to do a badass job for you guys. Lots of cool pictures, if nothing else, of him jumping the shit out of that bike. That's for damn
Yeah,
sure.
whipping a gas.
Yeah, which none of us have been able to do as well as he could do, unfortunately, to this day. But so
Drain plug shots. Yep.
yeah, it's so Tarot group we were talking about has kind of a hold, a little bit of a side on all this electric stuff. So are they going to be working with GasGas? Kind of to your point, they've got all these data bits
Like
about all
Husky
these
and
motorcycles to kind of like start making electric bikes big and small.
I'm not sure what their plans are. I know that it's 2 separate entities, so I'm sure
Okay.
they'll be sharing information back and forth or whatever. But as far as I'm concerned, it's I don't think you're gonna see an electric GasGas anytime soon.
Right. And now talk to us though about the little kids bike that you're saying is coming through in April.
Yeah, well, all I know about them is they're coming in 10-inch and 12-inch wheel sizes. So,
Perfect sizes.
yeah, they are perfect for like 3-4 years old. I did the OSIT thing, and for my 5-year-old, but this time around, I'm definitely going with the Tarot.
Well, are there any plans to grow the line to larger motorcycles, electric motorcycles?
I can't speak on behalf
Okay.
of them. I don't know enough about what they have planned. All I know is what GasGas North America has planned as far as racing is concerned, really. And that's quite enough for me. I got my hands full right now.
Absolutely, yeah, you do. I think that's a solid point though. Is that exactly what you said, and then your point right there is that Tarot has now. Granted, we don't know the full capacity of their electric bikes at this point. Be it that where they're at, bicycle wise, kind of moped wise, if they are motorcycles, but they're now about to. Well, they have a lot of access and data from all of these years of GasGas dirt bikes, full size dirt bike. Well, in your case, maybe 7/8 size, but still. So the fact that's probably on the plate at some point
It should be.
down the line. Especially like Chris Kiefer is doing all this testing with those Alta Motorsports or Alta Motor bikes or whatever on this electric bike. I mean, it's gonna be like $14,000. And it's gonna be crazy expensive, but in the long run, it's
That's
crazy
batteries.
expensive because it's the first one, and the batteries are literally made though for 2 30-minute motos. You get the bike with 2 batteries. The first one lasts 35, 37 minutes. The second one lasts 35, 37 minutes. You pack up and go home because the charger's not fast enough.
What do you do for practice?
But exactly. But the thing is that this is the first one that's made to be a specific race bike, right? So as more of this kind of technology comes out and comes around, everybody then can kind of help it evolve. And if
you like torque-
GasGas and Tarot start to kind of
you like
help
torque,
with that.
Electricity is the way to go. The maximum torque is at 0 and 1 RPM. That's when they make their most torque. It's coming off of 0.
So,
Right.
That's-
And I think the biggest advantage to having an electric bike, just from my standpoint, is like I won't piss my neighbors off every time I go riding.
Yeah.
I mean, I live in a neighborhood, and I'm lucky enough to be backed up against some woods, but every time I go out, they're not happy about it.
We had a guy in the chat room. What forks will the GasGas be using going forward? So is anything going to change from the Marzocchis?
Well, I'm not sure.
Okay.
That's all I can say is I know the pictures of the newer model that was released last week, I think, they had Mozarkis on them, but I'm not sure, what's going to happen. I know they were having some trouble financially as well, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, and I was just trying. Okay, so here's what I do know is that Fox Racing acquired Marzocchi, and that happened back in October. But here's the question: is we do know that there's Fox Racing mountain bikes and there's Fox Racing dirt bikes, and they're not exactly two separate divisions.
Marzocchi was in both fields as well.
But the thing that I do know is that was two separate. Like they shared information, but they treated it as two separate entities. Right. Now the Fox, I don't believe, is treated as two separate entities. It's Fox Racing, and Fox Racing does these shocks and these shocks and these shocks and these shocks. But now with Marzocchi being purchased by Fox Racing, does that mean if they were to go still with the Marzocchi route that they would have access to possibly an entry level and a high end fork and or shock? That's the one thing we have never seen in the dirt bike world. We've never seen those kind of options. Now, granted, you're going to have works parts, works suspension, things like that. But the one, like in a mountain bike world, you've got levels. Just what we were going through the other day. We've got levels of forks. We've got levels of shocks, and the amount of dampening that you can get with these kinds of things. It's something we've never really seen in the dirt bike world. So if Marzocchi being purchased by Fox, who both of these guys at one time and Fox currently huge in the mountain bike industry, could we possibly start to see things of that nature in the dirt bike world? Or is the dirt bike just so controlled by suspension, unlike a mountain bike, that it has to be at a certain level or it just doesn't function where it's worth riding?
Well, a lot of that's come from the manufacturers. Let me jump on that for just a second. Because back in the day, there were different levels of shock.
Okay.
There was stock and then aftermarket. You had entry-level Walmart quality stock shocks, and then you'd go buy a Coney or a Cornut or Works Performance or something like that.
Oh yeah, those guys were huge in the downhill mountain biking when it first came out.
The manufacturers have gotten their act together so well that you can get another kind of shock, but the best thing you can do, take the stock shock and just let Stillwell tweak it. Same thing with the fork.
Shameless plug.
Right? So that'll be interesting.
Shameless ad, sorry.
No, it's okay. And those guys do great work. I still work with them all the time, so that's totally fine by me.
Somebody like us Stillwell, yes.
Yeah. What would you think? You've been a rider and a racer for a long time. You've raced in the Northeast. You've raced around the country. You've traveled around the world at the ISCE with the junior team. What are your thoughts on possibly? And this really doesn't have anything to do with GasGas in general. Just like if dirt bikes started to come with the ability to upgrade certain parts right from the get-go. And I think in this we're probably talking just specifically to suspension, but.
Right. Well, there's always a way to upgrade, right? You can always upgrade, send your suspension out and get it revalved or whatever. But I see what you're saying. Like, as far as a price point is concerned, it could come with an older style open bath fork or something. I'm not sure. Like, there's that company AGP out there, and they're making like a price point that is much lower. And they have a full-size enduro bike. And I'm not sure what components they're coming with, but I'm sure it's not like top-quality race components. But, they're getting that price point down for the average trail rider, I'm assuming. I don't know a whole lot about them, just what I've read.
Yeah, no, I know what you're talking about. And also, too, to that point of what you're talking about, kind of like more of the entry-level or entry to market, as some of those say, and like those kind of price point level bikes. Was it like auto parts stores? You'll walk in there and see almost full-size motorcycles that they're selling that are just like Chinese knockoff brands.
Yeah.
That they're selling, and the thing is in that situation, a customer who is ignorant to motorcycles in general may not realize that what they're buying is, if they go try to do anything serious on it, they're going to get way more hurt than they expect.
Buying a glitzy bicycle from Walmart. It may look good, but it'll last 2 weeks.
Yeah. Those are the shit you find out the hard way, unfortunately, which is no fun. Okay. So as we wrap it up, what are some of the things that you wanted to tell us that we did not ask you about?
Well, basically what we're going to be doing this year is we're going to be riding a series called Aces Enduros.
Say it again?
It's primarily Aces.
Aces?
Yeah.
Okay.
Aces Enduros. And it's primarily Southern Ohio. I think there's one in Indiana and one in PA. And they also coincide with a couple national Enduros. But, it's a really old series. It's been called a bunch of different things, but like guys like Burleson and Cunningham and all those guys, legends, grew up racing those and stuff. And it's a great series. The clubs down there are phenomenal. They put on amazing races. Best single track, very technical, and we really like it. But we're going to focus on that. Also, we're going to do a couple of nationals also. And we're really going to put a lot of effort into qualifying for 6 days this year. Hepler has shown a lot of interest in trying out 6 days and being on a club team, getting his feet wet, and seeing what he can do. And I really think that he could excel at that type of racing with his speed and his background. The full gas sprint enduros are very enticing. I think next year I would really like to focus on a series, like that. Also, GNCC could be in the future for GasGas, maybe 2018. We were late to the game this year, that's for sure. I talked to a few riders, but everybody pretty much had their ride settled in whenever I got the nod to go ahead and find some guys. And, luckily I had been talking to Brock for as long as I had, and he was flexible and in a position where he could, work with us. He's going to help with R&D. He's going to be a big part of this program. And I'm going to be racing myself still. And, we hope to raise brand awareness and help to rebuild the GasGas name. And hopefully everything goes well, and this is a long-term thing. I couldn't be more excited to be in on ground zero with a company other than GasGas. I mean, like I said, I have a long relationship with the company. I really believe in the brand.
Right on. Yeah, it'll be great to see what continues to happen with the full gas sprint enduro. We've got all kinds of ISTE talk that we're going to be having, and I finally got in touch with Auntie, and Auntie's going to be coming on the show hopefully next week when he's back in the States and everything from the guys traveling down south. I want to talk about the ISDE and all the changes that they're going to be making with the team sizes and everything. And then, of course, I want to talk more about what's going to be happening with Jeff Fredette and how he's going to be taking over with Gunny's kind of position there with Team USA, and what's going to be going on and how qualifiers are going to continue to work, because the full gas sprint enduro is something. It sucks that those kinds of series can't be nationwide. It can be a national series, but it just sucks that, and it's not their fault. It really isn't. We have a huge freaking country, and it is just too darn expensive to travel across the country. It is. It's just what it is.
And we don't have any deserts in the east.
Yeah.
So you can't take the desert rides in the east.
Yeah.
It's you can't take first gear woods riding out to the desert.
Yeah. It's like the GNCC series needs to either, create a GNCC West and then have their East, and then same thing with full gas. Like, take a formula that obviously is working, people are happy about, they're having a good time racing and doing it, and bring it to the West, or and however you want to do that, because the series aren't the same, and the things that people want to use to test athletes to go to 6 days and then obviously to go to different other events, they're not all over the states. So,
and they're on the same weekends.
Yeah, nobody likes each other.
More than one anyway.
So, but it'll be interesting.
I think what Jason Hooper's doing is phenomenal. Somebody should have been doing this 20 years ago.
Yep.
It's only going to help all the U.S. riders get better world enduro type stuff. We've never had a guy from the States go over and win a world enduro title. I mean, we thankfully Sipes, has finally, stepped up and won an ISDE overall, which is great.
Yeah.
I mean, that's far cry from where we were, but we still haven't won as a team, and it's going to take time. But I think the sprint enduros is a wave of the future. That's for sure.
Yeah, and I wonder too. Like, if there's been talk of, like, obviously we know this year with the full gas sprint enduro, they've grown a lot. They went from 4 races. They went from one or 2 races the first year. Then they went to 4, and now they're at 8 this year.
Like enduro cross too.
And they're AMA sanctioned.
And yeah, it's gonna be epic, man. It's gonna be so cool to see that series grow and the way that people are gonna kind of. What's interesting is I have tried the past couple of years to get, even as Jason and I were going to the ISDE back in 2012 and starting to kind of get our feet wet and learning more about the ISDEs. Like, I was like, we need to do something like this in Texas, and no one would ever listen. And finally, 2 years ago, somebody did and put one on. A lot of people enjoyed it, but most of the people that watched were racers, but none of them wanted to do it because the one we did was kind of in between a sprint enduro / extreme enduro. It was the one at Barnwell on that Saturday. Remember, you showed up like halfway in the middle.
A little old short couple GasGas would have been great.
Yeah, but it was epic. It was a lot of fun. But now that Toro is trying to figure out a way to kind of revitalize their series a little bit, I'm like, dude, just drop the cross-country shit. Start doing sprint enduros. And yes, people are going to be like, I don't want to do this. And then every single time, you're going to have at least 5 or 10 more people that come out and be like, this is so much more fun than cross-country racing. And every time you'll pull in that many more people. I was like, but you just got to make a stand. You just gotta cut the cord. They're trying to do this thing where they're like, have a sprint enduro weekend and then have a hare scramble weekend and then have a sprint enduro. I was like, if you want to do that, sprint enduro on Saturday, hare scramble on Sunday.
Hare scramble on Sunday, absolutely.
You use the same shit. You use the same shit, so there's no practice, right? So the sprint enduro technically is your practice for the hare scramble if you want to have practice, right. And that way everybody gets to riding in on Saturday doing the sprint enduro, and then everybody gets their, if they want to call it, real racing on Sunday with their hare scramble. But no, it's too hard.
But then we go back to practice again. How many circuits have practice for a hare scramble? Usually you get a sighting lap and that's it.
Yeah, I know. It's a Texas thing.
That's a Texas thing.
What episode was it? You were on it. You were on the far right, the table inside. It was like 170 something, right? Mm-hmm. Mark Weeks was here and all that stuff. That's the one where we talked about that a lot.
Yeah.
A lot. Well, cool,
so
dude.
Wait, you were in Germany then in 2012?
I was. Yep.
All right. Yeah, I was there on the Wellard Club team that year.
Oh, no shit. Well, there you go.
Yeah, with Jordan Brandt and Fred Host.
I remember all those guys, but apparently I don't pay attention well enough to the sexy sons of bitches on the team. That's where I missed out. There were too many beer lines. I'm not gonna lie. I loved how every single special test we walked up to, it was like beer and food.
It was Germany.
Dude, no. It was awesome. So awesome. I was like, why the F can't people... Because the thing is, it's like, oh, you want to drink responsibly out here in public? Awesome. We're going to trust you as adults to drink responsibly in public. Like, that's what that was. I was like, thank you for treating me like an adult. And I did. It was the guys in spandex that were drinking in public that really freaked me the F out. But it's Germany, so I can't really do anything about it.
Lederhosen.
Yeah, it was nowhere near Lederhosen. I'm telling you, there were way too many dudes wandering around in spandex, and they did not just walk off of a road bike. Because they were running around with little cigarettes in their hands and little fanny packs. Mm-hmm. It was fun. It was something special. Special.
Well, have you had a chance to go to the factory at all and see where the GasGas are going to be made? Or
I have not. No, my boss was.
That's step 2. Make it happen. You just call him up and be like, I'm going, buddy.
Yeah, tomorrow I'll get on that.
Yeah, I mean that would help because then you could talk with a little more background and you'd seen them. You could share with the factory some of the issues that you're seeing over here because you don't know that stuff's getting through. You know, a lot of times.
I firmly believe that my boss is relaying the message pretty well. He's been over there a couple times, and I think they've heard the majority voice from over here. That's for sure.
Well, that's good. That's good to know, because a lot of times management filters for the profit element, but they filter a lot of what gets back to the manufacturing organ, not just in motorcycles. You know,
In general, they're like, "Oh no, there's no problems, buddy. Let's talk about issues." Well, cool, dude. Well, we really appreciate you coming on the show. We need to chat a little bit about Dallas Supercross, with everything that was going that we did this past weekend, and we're already at that hour limit. So I'm on my I'm on my third beer, so it could get weird. And like last week got weird.
This was great.
Oh no, I completely agree. I got no issues when it runs long because of the fact that we have fun chatting about dirt bikes.
Yeah,
I'm okay with that.
Absolutely. Hey guys, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, and so here's what we're gonna do. I know that we want to definitely chat with you and Brock Hepler in the near future. Like you mentioned, you mentioned that Brian Story was actually a teammate of yours quite a few times with the ISCE. So we want to make sure that we make that happen. We'll get Brian Story here back on the couch. Woo, buddy, I got the burpees. And then we'll get a chance to chat with him, with you, get some good, fun, nasty, awesome ISDE stories, hopefully more after-party stories, because I'm sure everybody's tired of hearing my one that I have. And then maybe talk, too, about Brock Hepler and all the good times he's got going on. So we're going to make that come to fruition.
And a GasGas update.
Absolutely.
And then, it'll be like maybe just a monthly GasGas update. Whenever the bike shows up in my yard, I'll know that we're having a good time.
Right. All right, well, thanks again for having me.
Absolutely, man. Enjoy your evening, and we will definitely chat soon.
All right. Ow! See you guys.
Peace.
Later.
So, Dallas Supercross, Dad, we talked about it in third place. Jason Anderson, you love watching him ride. I love watching him ride. But
he's just all over that motorcycle.
But in a good way.
Like he's kind of tall.
Body English.
English.
Yeah, just like... Bolty British.
He uses his shirt as an air brake or something going into corners.
Got to.
With his shirt tail flapping loose.
Right, just making it happen.
He's so much fun to watch.
So did we have fun at Dallas Supercross?
We had no special deals. We didn't go with the BTO guys this year. We just did the Brian and Steve show. And I had a great time. Of course, this thing over here, motocross is an excuse for socializing. You know, I'm sitting there watching the watch going, well, they're about to start second qualify. Well, they're about to start third qualify. And we're going from tent to tent outside with the party goers. That's him. And but once we got inside, it was awesome.
Yeah. And you know, and to Dad's point, like in the past couple times that I've been, in the past couple, and then we've gone together, we've kind of always had somebody that offered some small ability for us to go with them, right? And last year we spent the money, and by we I mean Dad, spent the money for us to go on the BTO VIP experience, which was ridiculously fantastic.
Do that
if anybody wants to sell a liver, possibly a testicle, to afford to be able to go on the BTO VIP experience, do it, because it was fantastic. It was absolutely amazing. But we realized it's like, you know what? We don't want to do that anymore. We just want to kind of go do our thing. And we did. Turns out we sat right across. I randomly bought tickets online that like had good handicap spots, so easy access for Dad, that he could have an aisle row. We literally sat right next to our friends, Mark McCain and Jenna Cott. Like, it was like, what is going on? Like, so... It turned out to be even more fantastic because the times that we weren't totally in the racing, we got a chance to just chat with them. We had good friends like literally sitting right next to us. It's absolutely amazing.
Yeah,
so.
And the seats were awesome.
Yeah.
We didn't get to see much of the start, but we were just about on the other, as far as you can get from the starting line. And we had great view of the racing. We just didn't get to see the first turn.
Yeah. So here's a little bit, again, never in my life have raced Supercross, nor do I think I ever would have. But it's like if I had any kind of thoughts, immediately when I was looking at that track, I go, holy crap, they're taking a left-hand turn, which is fantastic that it wasn't a right-hand turn, because then they wouldn't have access to the rear brake. The left-hand turn into a rhythm section, which was awesome. I was like, that's cool, that's good. They're going to be tight, that could get dirty, but hey, it stayed pretty clean there most of the evening. I think everybody knew how nasty it could get if they got on top of each other. But going right into that over-under, or to the over part of the over-under, I was freaking out. I was thinking that was going to be some of the nastiest stuff we'd seen.
Well, it had a pre-jump.
But it turned out okay. Like, honestly, and they're professionals. I'm not. And I think it was more of a fear of what I would probably do in that situation, much more than what riders like that do in that kind of situation.
I thought they did a much better job with the whoops. Last year, when Brian and I were there for everybody doesn't maybe see this, but there's a whole day of qualifying just about to get to the qualifying.
Right.
You know, when you're watching a heat
to
race
technically
or something,
qualify for the night show.
Yeah, there's 40 people there. There might have been 120 people in the morning that gets whittled down to the 40 some odd people that come to the line. But when we were at the race last year, it seemed like they were carting kids off of there right and left, off of the one jump section that was too far, and out of the whoops. I mean, there were kids being carted off all the time, mostly in the 250 class.
Yeah.
This year, it looked a lot safer because they put that. If you watch the show, they put the wall jump.
Yeah.
Right in the middle of some serious whoops.
I loved that wall.
I
I think, were a little less in the loving factor of that wall.
I was waiting for somebody to try to jump it. I was waiting for somebody to try to hit that wall hard and jump the second whoop.
The problem
section.
is that the back part of the whoops were still Supercross whoops. If they had been motocross whoops,
if they'd have come up short,
I absolutely think that some crazy ass Blake Baggett would have tried it. Like he did at the Texas 12 pack back when we still had a national in Texas. He did that and it was phenomenal. But because those things are literally like, I mean, he would have Joey Savatgy if they'd tried to jump it. So speaking of that part, there's been a lot of controversy on the whole Christian Craig Joey Savatgy thing. That second time they went through the whoops, technically, first full lap, if you will. And I've watched it over and over and over again, and I'm kind of like, I don't see why there's so much BS going on.
How is that any different than jamming a guy into the hay bales in a
turn? Yeah, it's like, I know that I have a rider close to me, right? He's close to me. He's behind me somewhere who's probably either, he's like, I'm coming up this wall. I'm on the far right. He's probably close to my left off of what I can hear, imagine anyway. And so if I don't start to fade left through these second set of whoops, he's going to be riding up my inside left and trying to block past me into this 180 at the head. So what am I going to do, being the rider on the right? I'm going to start fading to the left into the turn through the whoops. Period. And that's a cross-country racer talking about strategy. And so that happens. That's what Christian Craig does. Christian Craig fades to the left. He is racing the whoops. Mm-hmm. He's not riding the whoops. And Joey Savatgy got the fact that he wouldn't expect him to do that. Because what Joey Savatgy should have done, if he was wanting to do that and having expected that, maybe ride the complete left side of the whoops to really try to run up onto the inside of Craig. Opposed to ride
it was
a third of the way into the whoops.
There wasn't a line through the outside. Though.
Right, but that's also why you got to just make one if that's what you want to do.
But he did okay. I mean, he came back, and I think he finished, what,
10th? Something like that, so 10th maybe?
He did a good job of coming back and salvaging a bad situation.
Salvages the points. The problem then is that Cooper Webb, not the problem, everybody's going to have their thoughts, opinions on points and that kind of thing. But the thing is, it's like if you want to keep the points tight and keep Cooper Webb, Joey Savatgy, and Christian Craig kind of all in this thing, you didn't want Webb to win. You wanted Craig to kind of get that win. You wanted Cooper Webb to be in second or third, and you wanted Savatgy to just get as far up as he could after that wreck to keep the points semi-close. But now that Cooper Webb's got the win, not only does he have a points lead further on top of Craig, but he's
but they're all still within one race. All it takes is one bad race.
Yeah, but they only got 2-3 left because that was the last West.
There's 2 left.
So,
and that's the first time we've seen Texas when it wasn't the East.
That was weird.
Yeah, that felt funny. I used to enjoy, this is our first chance to see the 250 East guys. Oh, wait, this is another West race. We've been watching the West guys on TV for how long?
It's weird, but no Houston. Apparently there's been some, what's the deal? Like a bunch of backlash between what Feld Motorsports wants the people down there in Houston to do in the area for safety reasons and so the security bits and stuff, and none of that's been done. So they're like, okay, we're not coming back. So we're going back to Toronto. That's cool.
Yeah.
I like the fact that we can go that far north. I mean, granted, I've never been up there, but I think it's neat to be able to go into Canada and get a lot of, to give the access to a lot of Canadian riders to come and be able to, give their hand at Supercross that can't make a lot of the other rounds. And then, of course, for us to go expose, Supercross to many more people outside of just America.
But Savatgy did well, but you know who gets the comeback rider of the weekend? Marvin Musquin. Actually,
all of his
in the
passing
first turn.
clinics. What's funny is on the Pulp MX show, I loved it. They even talked to him about how he did such a great job passing everybody, because how they said that so many different riders were talking about how they didn't like the track in the sense that it was really hard to pass. And I'm like, well, I mean, sometimes
Go talk to Marvin.
I was like, obviously he did a fantastic job out of it. So,
and I remember a couple of years ago, we were both there. Kurt Caselli took us over to talk to the team. This was when he was running the kids program, and Roger was there, and Musquin was there, and I talked to him. I said, "Wow, what a great job you did! You put on a clinic, a passing clinic. If you only hadn't had trouble in the first turn." And Roger DeCoster gave him the dirtiest look. It's like, oh man, did I say the wrong thing? But he absolutely put on the same passing clinic in the 450 class. He's going to be scary soon.
That was Roger DeCoster looking at Marvin Musquin and going, "See, told you."
Yeah, I mean, it's like Roger must have said the same thing 5 minutes earlier. But that was a good race in the 450 class.
Yeah, it was. It was interesting because we kept looking and seeing and hoping that we could get a little bit of that Dungey, moving up on Roxon, and it was good to see, like right there, probably around the 15th or 16th lap, on that rhythm section, that on and off kind of, tabletop to singles and such. Like you could see Ryan just like boop, like just hit this quad thing that no one else had hit. But that was the one time he had a chance to try to make it on Roxon. It didn't make it work. Roxon knew it was probably going to be coming later on, so Roxon picked it up a little bit. And Dungey just had nothing for him.
There's enough races left that if Roxon wins out, you can give him the number one plate.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's not done.
I got a few more, too.
What are your thoughts on possible Chase Series points?
Say again?
Chase Series points. Where if they were to go, say it's 17-round series. So they go 10 rounds, and then they reset the points.
Oh, you mean like NASCAR does?
Right.
I hate that.
Why do you hate that?
I hate that.
And I honestly don't have a preference. So why do you hate that?
Because it's artificial. It's a, and then NASCAR takes, maybe if you did it once like they used to, but then they keep cutting people out and cutting people out and cutting people out. Motor racing is a season-long endeavor.
Right.
And you are the season champion. You're not necessarily the you can just barely make the show. If you peak at the right time, you might have had a really crappy first half of the year, but you peak at the right time and you make the finals. It's a championship for the year. But I'm open to it. I'll go either way.
I'm open to it because of the fact that it'll be interesting to see what happens. But apparently, just listening to Pulp MX last night and then kind of paying attention to Twitter today, that's what's happening for 2017. That's what they think is coming down the pipeline. Not as a bad, good, or bad, again. And that's one of the things that I do love about Mathis is that he's all for change. And I am too. I really like the fact that he's just kind of let's try this, let's try this, let's try this. You don't have to do it the whole season. You know what I mean? You can just kind of see what happens. And, but
I still say, though, the biggest change you can make, when did people cheer? When there was passing.
Passing.
When people, they weren't cheering for crashes. I mean, everybody was up on their feet and cheering and going nuts when people were getting ready to pass or passing. That's what gets the crowd into it.
Yeah, and you notice, I think, so far this year, we've had way better racing than we've had in a lot of years.
Yeah.
I even think the Dallas track was fantastic racing. I think to the point of what maybe some of the riders were saying about having issues with passing. Maybe I honestly have to watch the main for the third time to figure it out. But
I say again, if I designed a track and the riders told me it's hard to pass on my track, I'd be insulted. I'd feel terrible because the fans are there to see passing. The riders are there for passing. They're not there to play follow the leader and fall off in a 90-foot triple jump.
Right.
They're there for passing. They're there for winning. And if you get a bad start, you got to be able to pass to make up for it, unless you're moose can.
Yeah.
I get off the soapbox.
No, I think your soapbox is one to be on. Well, you got all kinds of notes, and I don't have any
Yeah,
of
I'm
them.
not
So
gonna- I'm
what
not
other
gonna
kind of
move
stuff
on
do we
this,
talk
but-
about?
What I still find amazing, though, is the guys that are still out. You know, Blake Baggins. Blake Baggett. I'm sorry.
The Hobbit.
The Hobbit. Baggins, the Hobbit. He's still out. Of course, Stewart. I don't know what that story is. You know, and then Barsha. There's 3 guys missing there. That, of course, Baggett's not a contender yet, but Barsha could be.
Yeah.
And Stewart certainly could be if he was out there trying. So I think the only guy that can really give Dungy a rough time this year is going to be Roxon, his former teammate.
Well, the interesting thing about Stewart is is unlike a lot of other sports, nobody talks. Like athletes in motocross and supercross think that we need to hide the facts and not let other people know what the truth is, because then that makes the sport better. And honestly, the second half of what I just said doesn't come to them at all. They don't think about a decision that they make to talk about their injury and what they've gone through. They think about it as a personal, egotistical level. They don't think about it as how it affects the sport. So someone like James Stewart, who, come to find out, actually had a head injury before Anaheim won. So he hit his head, had maybe, that, and this is where it's up in the air, might have had a concussion, may not have had a concussion, any of that kind of stuff. Comes into A1, unfortunately, and again, this is totally my opinion, Dungy fucks up, gets out of control, T-bones the shit out of Stewart, and completely knocks him out. Like, he gets knocked off the bike, head hits the ground, and just knocks him out cold. That you can prove from the footage. Like, that dude is just out. You know that he's concussed at that point. So let's just say Stewart had a concussion before the series. That is speculative. But, so then he gets a concussion. Concussions, we all know, there's really no science behind it. It's just hope and pray that you've spent the amount of time to make sure that your brain is not as swelled up as you think it would be.
And don't get another one.
And so then Stewart comes back, and he's going, holy shit, I'm seeing blurry. And he does what I think is the smart thing and pulls off. Like, at that point, he's like, you know what? It was not the right time. This concussion has me going too far. But it's so crazy to think that this guy's that Stewart would come into the season with a possible head injury and feel like he could be 100%. That's where it's kind of like, oh, shit. But then now it's taken all this time. It's kind of like, well, yeah, you're starting to see that these kind of, and we all need to learn from this. Head injuries are so much more serious than we think they are.
Yes.
That concussion that I had in Oklahoma like 4 or 5 years ago, there are times that I still have anxiety issues over that attack. Like, I mean, it was just retarded. But
how many times have we whacked a tree and seen stars in the woods?
Yeah.
Were those concussions?
All that happened to me.
Very possible.
That's all that happened to me. But I got back to the truck, and I couldn't talk.
That was bad.
I couldn't talk. I couldn't do math. Like, any of that kinds of stuff. Like, all these things about, like, I think I knew my name, I knew the birth date, I knew my name, I knew my birth date, and I knew the day it was. I didn't know the president, I didn't know any of that stuff, all the typical football questions. And it's just like, so.
But then now the Yoshimura Suzuki team has no riders, with both Blake out and Stewart out, and they didn't bring in any fill-ins.
And shoot, yeah, no, it was great because that was one of the things too that Mathis had mentioned is that was a big thing that they were talking about, that they were like, why is like someone like Josh Grant sitting on the sidelines not riding when he could be filling in for that team.
And they may not have the funding because they got to pay these guys if they're hurt while racing.
Yeah, it's all in the contract.
So if they bring in a third guy, but like they did over on the K1 Speed karting team, I'm walking down the pits and all of a sudden I see this red bike with an 801 on it, and this guy with a tattoo on his name, Tommy. So I said,
I don't think that's what it said, but I'm gonna just go
that's
with
what
it.
it said.
Okay.
I said, hey, Tommy, can I ask you a question? And then, here's this bike, Honda with an 801. I said, did you guys pick up Jeff Alessi this week? Lo and behold, they did. Now, how do I even know?
Yeah, the
what
one
a
Alessi
Jeff
fan
Alessi
in the
is?
audience.
Well, I follow his brother. I am probably the only member of the Mike Alessi fan club. He keeps ragging me about that. Mike Alessi, why do you care what Mike Alessi does? Well, first of all, I like the products.
Moto Concepts?
Moto Concepts got some pretty cool plastic products. I like their helmet and boot rack. I like their portable desk. I like their helmet hang-up rack. But probably I like Alessi because the first time I saw him, if you remember Vegas a few years ago, he was on the Suzuki team. And they had a start. And all of a sudden, the bikes are starting, and one bike enters the stadium. And he's halfway down the straightaway, and then all the rest of them come charging through as a big gaggle. And you're figuring, what is going on? And then I started watching him, and he gets great starts, and then fades. And then he went to KTM, and they put him on a 350, and he still got great starts. He still would get the whole shot from time to time on a 350. So I don't know. I don't know why I'm the only member of the Mike Alessi fan club, but go Mike.
He's a timing genius. I think that's why he can get those starts, is that he can kind of...
And Shorty did it for a while Alessi was out, with his third gear starts. But I'm probably the only member of the Mike Alessi fan club. And the guy, Tommy, when I asked him, about Jeff being on their team, he looked at me with eyes that got about that big. It's like, holy cow, somebody knows who Jeff Alessi is?
The 801.
Yeah, well, the Alessi fan club here.
Yep. The Alessi fan club of one. Well, guys, thank you very much for tuning in to episode 198. We had a ton of fun at the Dallas Supercross. It was fantastic. For those of you going to Atlanta this coming weekend, have fun. Remember, tag your pictures, Seat Time Live, or Pint Full of Awesome. We definitely want to pay attention and see those and repost those for you guys as you all have fun in Atlanta. Hopefully, y'all's shirts that we did mail out on Monday, they get to you guys in time for you to wear them to Atlanta. Or if you're on the East Coast and you're going to be going to another Supercross and you got some of our shirts, please wear them out there. Take pictures of yourself at the Supercross, and we would love to retweet, repost, all that kinds of fun stuff to showcase the fact that you guys are being awesome and supporting Seat Time. We really, really, really would appreciate that. 200th episode. Again, it's going to be in 3 weeks, so it gives us a little bit of time. So we're going to have episode 199 next week. Let us know how you'd like to approach that. We've got all kinds of interesting ideas, but we want to give away some swag. That's definitely the biggest thing. You guys are what makes us keep coming back to this kind of stuff. We love just talking dirt bikes. We love having beer and bench racing with you guys, and we want to keep doing that. And so a little bit of flat racing product, a little bit of Kinder product, a little bit of SRT off-road product for you guys. Have a little bit of fun. So remember, comment. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, whatever you want to do. Let us know what you think we should do for the 200th episode, and we'll enter you for a chance to win some swag. And then, of course, we'll have all kinds of stuff available on March 15th when we do have the 200th episode. However, we do choose to do that kind of stuff. So Dad, any last wrap-ups for you?
No. Go Mike.
It just kills me. Coming up February 27th this weekend is the SuperEnduro in Brazil. We'll see if Cody Webb can get his shit back together. I say that jokingly. Oh, I am forgetting. Let's do this. You got it ready? Did you get the Cody Webb video?
Yes.
Okay, so as I say that, we're going to go ahead and showcase this. So Cody Webb actually had a couple highlights for us. So for those of you guys still tuning in, you get a chance to hear a little special message from Mr. Cody Webb.
All right, we're coming at you semi-live from Belo Horizonte, Brazil, with a race recap from Argentina. Since I'm a nice guy and I always kind of bow down to Brian because he's like the king, or he thinks he is. He wanted a small recap of the race, kind of what happened, my accounts, I think maybe what's going on with everyone else. Just hanging out at the hotel right now. We got Doug over there hanging out. Not much going on, just a lot of traveling yesterday. Buenos Aires was 4 hours from where the race was along the coastline of Argentina, so long day yesterday and didn't get into like 2 last night. So hanging out today before maybe go to the gym or something in a little bit and get ready for next weekend. But, Argentina was good. SuperEnduro, qualified fastest in practice. I just got a clean lap, and the Super Pole went really well. I got my second Super Pole of the year in 3 races, so fastest qualifying time, and just was really patient and feeling pretty good on the track. It was actually really easy and fast, kind of like a Supercross style almost for Endurocross standards, but really sandy and deteriorated super bad. So I knew it was going to be tough when the racing started happening, and 3-moto format compared to just one in Endurocross, a little bit different. And I had the best inside gate pick. I figured that'd be the best thing to do to hold the inside, and didn't get the best jump, but still came around the corner all right. And we came over the first obstacle in that first moto, and one of the local Argentinian guys slammed into my tire from the back and just almost took me out, and I fell onto the rest of the pack and fell back right off the bat right there, and kind of was working my way through the pack. And I think I got by my teammate Taylor, and him and I kind of came together in the sand pit. I was all bobbling coming out of the rocks, and he got the inside advantage of me and got out, and I went down again. And I had to come from pretty far back, about midway through the moto, and actually caught the guys battling for third on the podium, and that would have been a good first moto after what was happening to try and get on the podium, but just couldn't quite make the passes. It was really tough on the track to get around people. It was kind of one fast line people were staying to, so ended up getting past the last corner, just stupid mistake on my part, and finished 6th in the first moto. Really sucked, but I was moving forward to the next one, and this time they reversed the starting position, so I was all the way on the outside gate, and everyone kind of checked up to make it the inside, and I just railed the outside berm, and I think I came out in like 3rd, surprisingly, for being all the way on the outside gate. Just kind of used that to my advantage, swooped the corner, and was right behind Colton, who was leading at the time, and Johnny, who won the moto, and kind of got bucked over the bars. I'm sure a couple of you saw the photo and the picture and the video, but it was really dark. It was outdoor arena at night, and the sand was just really deteriorating, and I just couldn't really see it. I guess I hit a cupped out part of the log and instantly knew I was screwed, and kind of hit the eject button and went flying through the air, and kind of fell on my ass, and then tried to get back up and fell again, kind of rushed a little bit. But I was happy to have such a huge crash like that, get out of it clean, and actually keep racing even with my grip all torn up, and I was able to finish 4th in that moto. So, it was a good way to salvage points for such a big crash. And that final moto, I knew I had to make up some ground. Just really lost a bunch of points earlier in the night and was having a rough go of it. But, I still felt good in speed and confidence. And, I nailed my start, kept pushing hard, and basically led from start to finish, and was able to open up the gap on those guys a little bit and maintain it. And Colton had a mistake and went down, and Johnny was pushing really hard those last couple laps. And I was able to kind of cruise the last lap a little bit and make sure I didn't do anything stupid again, and get the final moto win. So it was a good confidence boost, that last moto, at least knowing I had the speed and ability to get a win, and just, luck wasn't quite on my side. And final moto, I knew I had to make up some ground. Just really lost a bunch of points earlier in the night and was having a rough go of it. But, I still felt good in speed and confidence. And, I nailed my start, kept pushing hard and basically led from start to finish and was able to open up the gap on those guys a little bit and maintain it. And Colton had a mistake and went down, and Johnny was pushing really hard those last couple laps. And, I was able to kind of cruise the last lap a little bit and make sure I didn't do anything stupid again and get the final moto win. So it was a good confidence boost. That last moto, at least knowing I had the speed and ability to get a win, and just luck wasn't quite on my side. And I've had a good start so far to the year with factory KTM, and I can't get them all, but looking forward to Belo Horizonte this weekend. The normal enduro cross guys, Schaefer Tracks, and is putting on that course, so it should be really good. And hopefully this is a good update for you guys. And Team America's doing pretty good so far with me, Colton, Taylor Robert, and Ty Tremaine. He was able to get his first podium. So, it's cool to be racing with our buddies against all the Euros, and everyone gets along on this trip. Everyone's traveling together and stuff. So it's a good time, and, now I get to go enjoy the hot sun and humidity. All right, we're coming at you semi-live from...
And so that's our update from Cody Webb. We wanted to have him on the show just to kind of talk about some of the accidents that he did have, but luckily enough, because of technology, we could get him to shoot a little bit of a video, send it to us, and we can kind of get those kind of updates. That's something we'd like to do more of, so if you guys have racers out there at different series that you'd like to get that kind of stuff from, we can obviously do this kind of stuff. It's not hard to do, so you just let us know and we will try to get those updates to you guys. So Cody Webb's going to try to not do what he did this past weekend in Argentina while he's been racing in Brazil. This coming weekend for Super Enduro Round 4, it's going to be a good time of racing. Of course, this is Seat Time. You can find us at seattime.co. That is the website where you get all the fun updates. And then after that, you go to Facebook, facebook.com/seattime. Of course, we're on Twitter at seattime_co and on the Instagrams at seattime. You can find us on YouTube, seattime.co. Please subscribe. That's the best way to be updated with all the new videos, all the live episodes that we do. It is a good time, and we appreciate you for finding us. Coming up, the Super Enduro in Brazil this coming weekend, March 5th and 6th, GNCC Round 1, Wild Boar, Florida. It's coming up, man. Right before that, we're going to have the Full Gas Sprint Enduro that Thursday and Friday, I believe. No, Wednesday and Thursday. It's the weekend before that first weekend there for the GNCC. It's going to be a good time. Daytona Bike Week coming up. We're not going to be there, but hopefully we get to see a lot of pictures of some people doing things that they shouldn't be doing, and we get to make fun of them and have a good time because of it. Other than that, of course, my dad couldn't make it anymore. He had to go pee. That happens. You're welcome, world. We appreciate you for watching and obviously for supporting Seat Time. We will be back next week for episode 199 and then back the following 2 weeks after that for episode 200. Remember to always enjoy a pintful of awesome, and we'll see you then. Peace.